Bloomberg, we're breaking with convention, war, peace, and the presidency. From the streets to the suites to the convention floor. I'm Amy Goodman. Nearly 2 million people have evacuated their homes as Hurricane Gustav heads towards the Gulf Coast. The Category 3 storm is expected to make landfall by midday today, with winds of 115 miles per hour. The evacuations come just days after New Orleans marked the 3rd anniversary of Hurricane Katrina, which killed more than 1,600 people after also making landfall as a Category 3 storm. Gustav has already claimed nearly 100 lives as it tore through the Caribbean. On Saturday, New Orleans Mayor Ray Nagin announced the mandatory evacuation.
So as a result of that, ladies and gentlemen, I am announcing today that we are ordering a mandatory evacuation of the city of New Orleans starting in the morning at 8 a.m. on the West Bank. We want our West Bank people to move out. We want you to move out quickly and not play around with this. We're going to give you 4 hours to evacuate.
More residents have fled from coastal Louisiana and New Orleans, but tens of thousands have also left coastal Mississippi, Alabama, and southeastern Texas. Hurricane Gustav has also jeopardized this week's Republican National Convention here in St. Paul. Republican officials are already scaling back the RNC program. The Bush administration drew widespread criticism for its response to Katrina 3 years ago. Republican candidate John McCain said today's agenda will only include essential formalities.
So, of course, this is a time when we have to do away with our party politics and we have to act as Americans. We have to join with 300 million other Americans on behalf of our fellow citizens. It's a time for action. So we're going to suspend most of our activities tomorrow except for those absolutely necessary.
President Bush says he won't attend the convention at all, will instead head to Texas.
In light of these events, I will not be going to Minnesota for the Republican National Convention. I'm going to travel down to Texas tomorrow to visit with the Emergency Operations Center in Austin, where coordination among federal, state, and local government officials is occurring. I intend to go down to San Antonio, where state and local officials are pre-positioning relief materials for Texas and Louisiana.
Republicans have even floated the idea of canceling the convention altogether. On Sunday, I asked McCain campaign manager Rick Davis about the convention plans at a news conference here in St. Paul.
Continue on through the course of the week.
Rick, is there any discussion of simply redirecting the some $50 million that are going, corporate money going into this convention to the Gulf to help the people there?
Well, the host committee, I think, will play an important role as a partner in us in supplying money, aid, and support, not only financial but also material support. We're just now, as I mentioned, starting to work out details of what that would look like, but I wouldn't rule out the fact that both the campaign, the host committee, and a lot of individuals in this region at the convention would probably make financial contributions.
What about more than contributions, all the money that would go into the corporate parties here to direct it to the Gulf Coast?
Well, that's exactly what I think I already addressed, is that we're going to extend a request to all the participants in the convention, both inside and outside the hall, to participate.
Campaign manager Rick Davis speaking about the plans for the Republican National Convention. Jordan Flaherty is a New Orleans-based independent journalist and editor of Left Turn magazine. He was the first writer to bring the story of the Jena 6 to a national audience, and his reporting on post-Katrina New Orleans has been widely published and broadcast. He is one of an estimated 10,000 people believed to still remain in New Orleans following the evacuation order. Jordan Flaherty joins me now on the phone from New Orleans. Welcome to Democracy Now!, Jordan.
Thank you, Amy, and thank you for having me on the show and for your continued attention to the Gulf Coast and to New Orleans.
Can you talk about the situation right now as we speak? Where are you in New Orleans?
I am in my home, which is in the Fairgrounds area. It is storming right now outside. We have lost power. There was an explosion and then power went off in the area. If previous storms are any history to guide by, then I would say we will not have power back for a while. I would imagine the French Quarter and the CBD may get their power back sooner, but the rest of the city, it would probably be several days before we get power back. There's some pretty high-speed winds, although I would say not hurricane speed. I think more tropical storm winds. You may have more recent update than me on Gustav, but last I heard it was very close to making landfall. I think about 100 miles to the west of here. And so, we're just catching the edge of the storm right now. I think it's going to get worse. I was also in New Orleans for Katrina, and during Katrina, we really felt we'd missed a bullet because it felt sort of like this, not a very serious storm. Most people know that Katrina was a Category 5 hurricane in the Gulf, but a lot of people don't realize that by the time it reached New Orleans, it dodged New Orleans, and we got only Category 2 strength winds, and the levees were supposed to be strong enough for a Category 3 storm, and they broke anyway. And I think it's really important for people to realize that Katrina was not a story about weather. It was a story about infrastructure, about the Bush administration not giving funding to keep up the infrastructure, about the levees not being strong enough, about coastal erosion caused by the work of oil companies, and a lack of commitment to keeping the coast up. And it was fundamentally a story of an incompetent and careless response that left people abandoned. And so, I think how this storm shakes out is going to be, less about the strength of the storm and more about the infrastructure, about whether or not those levees really hold up, and about the other response that we see.
Can you talk about Senator John McCain's record, as well as Barack Obama's record, on support for the Gulf Coast, support for New Orleans, for financing the reconstruction after Katrina?
I was just a few weeks ago now that John McCain was scheduled to make an appearance here in New Orleans, and just the day before, and he was to talk about drilling in the Gulf and how safe it was, and just before, the day before that, there was a massive oil spill, and we had, our river right by the city was filled with oil. You could smell the oil from a couple blocks away. It was spattered all along the river walk here. So I don't feel like he is a protector of ours. I think Barack Obama has at least paid more lip service and been here more, but in a recent study that was done of attitudes from New Orleanians, 8 in 10 felt that the federal government did not care about the people of New Orleans, and 2/3 of them felt that we were forgotten by the rest of the country. And I think that includes by people feel Democrats and Republicans have mostly forgotten us and don't really understand what has happened. I mean, it's been 3 years since Katrina, and still in vast stretches of the city remain undeveloped. Only 11% of homes are back in the lower 9th Ward. The school system is still in crisis. The criminal justice system is in crisis. The healthcare system is in crisis. Things have not, on so many scales, have not improved here. And the support that was promised has not come. The billions of dollars in federal money, and even in the money from foundations, from Red Cross, from nonprofits, has overall not made it to the people most in need.
We're talking to. We're talking right now, going directly to New Orleans, where the storm has not hit landfall. Jordan Flaherty is our guest, independent reporter. Jordan, last week during the Democratic Convention, there was the film Trouble the Water that was shown. The Senator Mary Landrieu was there. It's about New Orleans. Also, the mayor, Ray Nagin. He left before the end. He was very angry about the portrayal of New Orleans, a critical film. What about Ray Nagin and how he's dealing with this now? Actually, the whole delegation, I think most at least of the delegation, went back before Barack Obama gave his major address on Thursday because of the looming hurricane.
I think in New Orleans there's mixed feelings about Ray Nagin. My opinion is this: Ray Nagin is not a very good mayor, but I'm not convinced even a great mayor really could have done what New Orleans needed. I mean, the damage that New Orleans faced was in the tens or hundreds of billions of dollars. We're talking about the biggest engineering failure since Chernobyl. It was, we needed federal support. And I think that what Nagin was told basically was, if you want